Shoppers are switching away from caged eggs to higher welfare eggs. They're buying organic and free range. Sales of organic and free range eggs rose by more than 10% last year. That's according to research from Kantar. Sales of eggs from caged and barn hens went down. The latest supermarket to promise to stop selling eggs from caged birds is Lidl. It's joined Tesco, Morrison's, Asda, Spar and Aldi in promising that by 2025 there will be a cut-off date. The other big supermarkets stopped selling caged hens' eggs years ago. Eggs from caged birds may be losing sales in the supermarkets, but they still account for just over half of all the eggs produced in the UK. Many of the farmers who have caged or colony hens have made big investments in the run-up to 2012 when the old-style battery cages were banned. I went to see what caged egg production looks like now. Duncan Priestner showed me around his poultry farm in the countryside in Greater Manchester. He's head of the poultry division at the National Farmers Union.
This is an egg-producing farm. My father bought this farm in the 1960s and we've had chickens on it ever since.
Describe how they're kept.
We've decided to go down the route of having these new enriched colony cages. It's what our customers want, and I think we seem to farm quite successfully.
Who buys your eggs?
We go to a lot of retail stores, smaller retail stores, not the big ones. We go to a lot of smaller shops, maybe farm shops. They know they can sell them without any problems.
Take us in then to have a look.
Right, we'll go and have a look inside. This is the grading room we're going to go in first. All eggs are sold. People think they're sold on size, but they're actually sold on weight. So this machine you're seeing here is a massive big weighing machine, but it can weigh eggs at about 120,000 eggs an hour. It'll take cracked eggs out, it'll take dirty eggs out, and at the end of the day weigh them, and we then put them in boxes at the far end.
Looks like something out of Wallace and Gromit, all these chutes that are coming down and then just a couple of guys at the end packing.
Yeah, there's a lot of automation in the sheds. We have to collect eggs legally every single day. So we work 7 days a week. Even Christmas Day we all have to work about 6 or 7 hours. We pack them every day, make sure the eggs are fresh when they go out. So obviously these are the egg conveyors where the eggs come down and straight onto the machine without anybody having to touch them. We'll just go through this door here. Right, now we've just walked into the colony cage system. This shed has 25,000 birds. Probably to you it looks quite a big shed, but for modern day standards, even on world standards, is now probably a slightly smaller shed really.
It's row upon row of metal cages, lots of hens peeping out of them and pecking out of, what are they, little troughs of food?
That's right, yeah, there's food troughs at the front. These are fed about 5 or 6 times a day. They have access to food all the time, have access to water all the time. And most of the shed, the reason it's metal, obviously it's very easy to keep clean. Every single thing in here has been thought out. It's all been designed by world-leading welfare people. It's not something we've thought of ourselves. And this is what the system they've come up with that's workable and very welfare-friendly for the hens. The law is now that every hen's got to have access to a perch. So all these hens have got 6 inches of perches, or 150 millimetres, shall I say, of perches. Every hen's got access to a nest box, so they all lay their eggs in a nest box. They've all got to have access to a scratch area. They've all got to have access to a minimum of 750 square centimetres. So it's all been designed. That's what the law requires, EU law requires. That's UK law now as well, which is probably the highest standard anywhere in the world.
They are packed in here quite tightly, aren't they? I mean, they've got room to move. I could just have a look at this box of them. They're walking about on a sort of metal grill, aren't they? And they can move to the front and have something to eat. Where's the water?
The water is in the middle there. There's 2 rows of waters in the middle. Again, they're what we call nipple drinkers. So that means there's no water going stagnant. It's all kept lovely and fresh. The food again at the front, that's all fresh. We actually feed 5 different rations throughout lay as we need them. You mentioned about the mesh floor. The reason we put the mesh floor is that the hens' muck or manure can all drop through onto belts. So either once or twice a week, we remove all that out of the shed. That all goes on the land. It's actually a very good fertiliser for the land, so we don't have to use very much nitrogen on the side, and it keeps a nice atmosphere inside the shed as well.
Do you trim their beaks, Duncan?
Yeah, all the birds here what we call infrared beak treated. So at day old, what they actually do is they shine a beam of infrared light at the end of the beaks, and about a week or 2 weeks later, the very, very tip of the beaks will drop off. Hens actually can sometimes attack each other. They can, it's what we call severe feather pecking, or it can get to cannibalism. So as a bit of an insurance policy, what we tend to do is that they'll all, at day old, they'll be infrared beak treated. Again, it's a little bit controversial. Some people don't like it. I think you see from here, most people would hardly tell the difference. They wouldn't even know what we're talking about really, because you wouldn't be able to see the difference. It's such a minor thing to do to the chickens.
How long will these birds live? What's their lifespan?
These will stay in these colonies for about 13 months. On our farm, they're about 80 weeks of age when they've actually go, and then they will be sent away.
And are they eaten? I mean, will they go for slaughter and be eaten?
We actually give them away free of charge. They could end up in chicken soup, it could be chicken or dog food or cat food. They will end up in being eaten and somewhere along the line. It's not wasted, the food isn't. But it's, at the end of it, we take them out quite carefully, they're loaded away, and I say, that's the way we treat them then is very crucial to make sure that we don't damage the birds at all when we take them out.
What is the difference in the cost of production for a caged hen's egg and a free-range hen's egg?
A lot of free-range hens eggs you see now about £1 for half a dozen, whereas colony eggs you can see them as low as maybe 50 or 60 pence for half a dozen. Percentage-wise, it's quite a lot more. But eggs at the moment are very, very cheap in the supermarkets. A lot of food's very cheap. The supermarkets are in a big price war. We know the supermarkets, certain things like milk, bread, eggs are the staple things that supermarkets like to put out very cheap. So it's obviously a concern to farmers that the price in the supermarket will reflect what the farmer's getting. The question is when eggs go more expensive, which I think eventually they'll probably have to, because everybody can't work for nothing, especially if we're going to invest in these new systems, which is all this free range, the price of eggs may go up. And people may then start actually being more concerned on the differences between the free range and the colony eggs.
The supermarkets are turning away from caged hen's eggs. Are you going to change your methods of production here? Because you've switched production away from the old battery cages to these new enriched cages, and you did that only 4 years ago.
That's right, yeah, we actually had barn and we also had the old battery cage systems, and that was all taken down and this brand new shed built on top, because we believe this is the welfare friendly system that people wanted to buy into. So I think we'd be very reluctant, and we're still paying loans off on these as well.
The supermarkets are reflecting public opinion. People shopping don't want to think that hens are living like this, many to a small crate. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, there are people opposed to keeping any farmed animals. We have to respect those views, and I think everybody who do buy animals or animal products, they want to know those animals have been well looked after. But all I can say is, in this country, we look after all our animals in the best way probably in the whole world. This is some of the best equipment you can buy. We have the best stock people in the world, and I think, when you've seen these yourselves, I think you see that the hens are actually happy and are being very well looked after.